Liu Feng asked the system, "Is it still possible to save Aunt Li?" The system replied that if he increases the level of the shelter to the 5th level and follows the vaccine or finds a new one similar to the one he gave to his sister, then he will have a chance to return his aunt to human form. System notified that the Scarlet Queen was about to leave and was heading to the city center to build her nest there and would continue to evolve. After one day, filled with supplies, the trucks all began to return to the shelter. Upon arrival, the newcomers were simply shocked. Everyone was amazed and delighted when they saw Liu Feng's hideout. Sarah greeted everyone and introduced herself as his personal secretary. What Kelly was thinking was that the hospital she invested in suddenly turned out to be such an interesting shelter. While Li Xin was showing Kelly the bunker, Liu Feng was thinking that, after all, she had gone to the city center, and without a vaccine, he would not be able to save her. So it seemed that the best option would be to go back and think about it carefully. Meanwhile, Sarah introduced the newcomers to their hideout. Telling that the shelter is controlled by artificial intelligence, "This is the state of the place at the time of the last update," she said. Now to the previously existing 5 main building after upgrading to the 2nd level, premises such as a clothing workshop, a teleport, a medical office, and a greenhouse have also been added. Do clothing workshops use materials or points to make gear? Currently it can produce clothing, shoes, gloves, lightweight body armor, and gas masks with helmets. Level 1 medical office uses materials or glasses to make simple medicines, alcohol, anti-inflammatory drugs, antibiotics. Simple surgical care may be provided. A room with a teleport, which contains a simple teleport that uses teleportation points to move things. A prerequisite is the presence of a transmitting device on the other side. At this level, use is possible only once a day, can move up to 2 tons at a time. Next, Sarah showed the newcomers a level 2 greenhouse, where seeds can be grown using an improved system. They grow quickly and ripen quickly. This shelter already has enough vegetables to feed 10 people. Bedrooms, kitchen, and pumping room. At the other end, there is a shelter. "Please do what you want," Sarah said, and released the new ones. While Li Xin told Liu Feng that she had only been gone for 2 days, and the shelter had changed beyond recognition. When Kelly suddenly appeared in her outfit from the shelter and said that she had a proposal about the need to build a command post for general planning. Seeing that the drawings were hidden in the base and simply could not be found, Liu Feng immediately ordered the system to immediately build a command post. Later, in the evening in the bathroom, he could not believe that he could have some hidden drawings. After upgrading to the 2nd level, the bathroom is upgraded to a public baths refuge. Liu Feng decided that he would have to ask each person in his free time. This trip was very useful, apart from the loss of Aunt Li Hanyan. Tomorrow, he will find out what is hidden behind the secret drawings. And did Li Xin bring these drawings? Before he could plunge into his thoughts, his younger sister, Xin Tong, suddenly appeared in the public bathhouse along with Yuxuan. He was simply dumbfounded by their presence. Liu Feng asked Yuxuan why they came. She replied that Xin Tong woke up when she ate a mutant with MC and Yu. Her memory was restored a little, and she remembered Yuxuan. Therefore, if you are Liu Feng's brother, then she will happily take a bath with him. Liu Feng was shocked and asked them to stop. But Yuxuan told him not to be shy. "Let us remind you that in childhood the 3 of them didn't swim all the time." He realized that he couldn't just get rid of them, and he decided to find a way to distract them. After thinking for a while, he told Yuxuan that he asked her forgiveness for Aunt Li because he failed to save her. Yuxuan slapped him, telling him to calm down and listen to her. She said that if it weren't for him, she would have died long ago. The fact that her mother turned into a monster was the mistake of the military freaks. In response, Liu Feng held her head and said that he thanked her very much for comforting him and promised that he would definitely save her mother. The next morning, Liu Feng, walking along one of the corridors of his hideout, came across a command center that he did not expect to see so soon. The girls greeted Liu Feng at the command post, after which Kelly said that she did not expect that he would actually build a command post. Then she told him that in addition to the command post, in this building there is also a dormitory in which he and several girls will temporarily live, and the head's room is his personal room. Kelly also said that she used the command post to seize a satellite that the government had lost contact with. After the collapse of the government, this satellite lost contact with the Earth. The command post's artificial intelligence decrypted the password and captured it. She also said that the satellite will allow contact with the squad at any time during missions, and also provides remote control and support. Lee Shin agreed with Kelly, saying that she was right, because the teams performing special operations had very effective satellite support. Not only did it show the way, but it also made it easier to hide from the crowd of zombies. Moreover, Kelly continued, various data is displayed in the command post. There are points called resources. When making various items, resources are spent that can be obtained by collecting iron, wood, oil, and other energy resources. It's like gold coins in a game. Every time you want to produce something, you only need to send a request and the shelter will automatically deduct the required amount of resources. Kelly also told Liu Feng that she wanted to discuss the regime at the shelter with him. Is democracy or dictatorship in refuge at the moment? At that moment, Liu Feng realized that his idea of creating grief had failed even before it began to be realized. Liu Feng thought about this, realizing that now is the end of the world, and his dictatorship even contributes to survival, and if there is democracy, then they will simply waste all their resources. But he was afraid that either Shin or Kelly would not agree to live in such conditions. Before he had time to think and answer the question, Li Shin said that there was no need to complicate things, because if Liu Feng was an authoritarian leader, it would be much better. Then she asked that in their world of the apocalypse, wouldn't democracy lead to death? Moreover, the base belongs to him. Kelly said that she agrees with Li Shin, because at the end of the world, centralized power and dictatorship are much more effective. She also said that everyone agreed to make him their leader. At this moment, Liu Feng mentally imagined that his dream of saving humanity and creating his own harem was about to come true, after which he said that since everyone agreed, then he would be the leader, and now he wants to distribute personnel. He appointed Kelly as chief manager of the shelter, Li Shin as head of security, and Sarah as senior secretary, after which he invited the girls to work hard together to revive humanity. Kelly told Liu Feng that he had given her the high position of chief executive and asked him if he was afraid that her ambitions would become inflated and she would remove him from the throne. Liu Feng replied that if you work with someone, you shouldn't doubt him. He believed in Kelly's human qualities. Liu Feng understood that as long as Kelly's mood was green, she would definitely not betray him. By then, she will no longer be such a seductress and will behave calmly. Kelly liked the technique of distributing responsibilities that Liu Feng used, and she began to distribute responsibilities among the other participants in the shelter. She appointed Ta Qiang and Xiao Sun to report to Li Shin, who said that they were not responsible for the security of the shelter. He and his friend were appointed chief electricians, who were responsible for the maintenance and repair of the power supply room. After Kelly assigned and distributed responsibilities to all available shelter members, she returned back to the control center and said that she could later design the routine of each person who would have to work to get food. With the help of the satellite, they will be able to recruit more people to form resource search teams. Liu Feng asked how many free beds were there in the shelter, to which Sarah replied that the shelter still had a lot of free beds. In the morning, she had already sent information via satellite to people nearby. All survivors who had radio equipment would receive it. Before she had time to finish, the system gave a signal that new people had appeared at the gates of the shelter. 3 people, 2 girls, and 1 guy. The 3 survivors greeted the shelter guards and said that they were survivors in the area and asked who they were waiting for. To which one of the guards replied that there is no need to ask. If they are not asked, their leader will come soon. Liu Feng, Li Shin, and Kelly came out of the shelter to meet the 3 survivors in order to look at them and evaluate whether they were worthy of being in the shelter or not. Seeing them, one of the survivors immediately began to praise the leader, saying that he was incredible, a real leader, and they were survivors and came here when they heard the news on the radio. Liu Feng was pleasantly surprised. thinking that his domineering spirit made ordinary people bow to him. He then extended his hand to greet the survivor. But the survivor said all these words not to him but to Kelly, thinking that she is the leader. Kelly apologized for misleading them with her air of authority, but immediately said that the head of the shelter was Liu Feng. The survivor was shocked and immediately said the same thing that Kelly had said before. But Liu Feng was no longer interested in this. He asked the survivors if they were sure they wanted to join the shelter since they did not need idle people. Thanks to the system, Liu Feng looked at what talents these survivors had. One of them turned out to have a talent for growing vegetables. It was very good. The second was also not bad, but the third was very hostile towards the shelter. Liu Feng suspected that he was a spy. Liu Feng took all the survivors into his hideout, even the spy, to see what kind of idiot decided to rush at him. The next morning, Liu Feng woke up in his bed, but not alone, not understanding what had happened, and not understanding what Sister Shin Tong was doing in his bed. Did she really sleep with him? He understood that this was most likely a habit, since childhood his younger sister had been clinging to him. But he also understood that he had to urgently wake her up, because if other people saw it, it would be very bad. When suddenly, the head of the security, Li Xin, burst into the room in order to wake up the head of the shelter, opening the door with the words, "Good morning." She was stunned by what she saw. Literally in a second, her smile changed to sadness, and the idea that Liu Feng was a pervert arose in her thoughts. But without saying a word, she simply closed the door and left. Coming out of his room, he saw Li Xin and Kara whispering to each other, saying that he was a real magnet for girls. At that moment, the guards approached him, saying that they were going on duty. Thanks to the resources of the shelter, body armor, first stage, engineering suits, and police shields were made for them. They thanked Liu Feng for the uniform, saying that he was the real leader. And with this equipment, they guarantee that the headquarters will be safe. Liu Feng proudly agreed with their words and said that it was a pity that there were no pistols, but they could use his modified electric rollers. Before he could finish speaking, he was urgently called to headquarters. Sarah reported that the 3 survivors who had recently come to them told her that the government had built camps for survivors in the northern part of the city, and that right now, everyone was moving there. Kelly also added that Zheng Tianxiong was there too. Liu Feng said that he would go and look for him, after which he immediately asked Kelly to plan his route. He also asked you to help him come up with the perfect name for their hideout. Kelly drew up a map of the route, saying that the main goal was to make sure that there was a camp for survivors in the northern part of the city, and to find the Minister of Health Zheng Tianshun there. But first they needed to get weapons. There is a prison along the way that she once invested in. There must be a whole arsenal there. Kelly suggested trying their luck since the shelter now needs weapons. The system was updated. The task offered 3 options. First, get to the survivors' camp. The second option is to go to prison to get a firearm. And the third option, save Aunt Li Hanyan. Liu Feng said that they would call themselves Shelter L, and he would personally lead the squad to the prison. Kelly said that she would form 2 more squads with Ta Chiang and Xiao Sun, and personally lead them to clear the area around the gas station shopping center and the hospital, as this would save the resources of their base. Liu Feng asked her if she wanted him to leave Li Xin for her. But Kelly replied that his task is to find weapons. This is much more important. With these weapons, they will be able to reach the steel mill in the northern part of the city and the gasoline warehouse before the onset of winter in order to capture more resources. Otherwise, they will not survive this winter. She is not some kind of pampered girl. Sarah will be more than enough to hand over command of the base. Liu Feng said that in order for him not to worry, he would still leave Li Xin at the base. Then he said that he had a task for Kelly. There is a spy among the 3 survivors. Her task will be to find him. In the meantime, he will grab the weapon and return through the portal, and then they will figure out who is behind the spy and destroy them in one fell swoop. Kelly knew that with her technician, she would need at least a week to see if there was a problem with this man. Moreover, Liu Feng's hideout is terribly huge. After the meeting, sitting on the sofa in his room, the head of the shelter, Liu Feng, understood that this time he must significantly increase the levels of not only strength but also skills.